Hello and welcome. This is AlchemistExe, and we are back into TAGA. So there is a port raid going on right now. Give a quick shout out to everyone in Neo Alchemist. That's the footage that's currently playing, fighting the Venus boss. Nice little opportunity to show off my Ouroboros. I'm very, very happy that I got her, and I can consider her, whether it's true or not, this could end up being amended, but for the time being, I consider her kind of my last big project in terms of investment. Like, I am raising other characters, but she's the one that I'm really focusing on the most. She's really, really fun and hilarious enough that I've really not been using her support kit. I just use her as a magic damage dealer. It's so much simpler that way. I do kind of hope that the game puts me in a position where it incentivizes me to use her support kit, but that hasn't happened yet. But aside from the port raid, there's also the big thing this week, and that, of course, is the completion of the main story. To celebrate this, there is a challenge board where you can get 1,000 shards of a limited unit. Now, because they haven't said anything like in the news or on Twitter, etc., about the limitations of this selector, aside from the obvious no collaboration units, right? That's always going to be the case. But aside from that, it seems like anything is fair game. If that's not the case, if there's some limitations they didn't specify, I would love to know in the comments. Very, very much appreciated. But yeah, I gotta say, they did it. Despite the other criticisms that you can make about the game and its various budget cuts, and we stopped getting seasonal events this year, and mementos with skins and that kind of thing. Just everything just has felt really, really scaled back. This was already happening before the Gumi layoffs that happened after it was revealed that they had been operating with a very large net loss, as far as I know, 100% due to Astrotarticus's failure, and then it had its EOS. And so TAGA wasn't in a great place before that happened, and there's no way it ended in a better place than it was before after that. So I can only assume that they've been operating on a shoestring budget since then. And the fact that they were able to take the resources they had and just tunnel vision their way through the main story, I do appreciate that. Like, of course, I wish things were different. I wish we'd had more content total and more kind of fun things that we like to see, like events and mementos with skins, etc. But they had a goal, they stuck to it, and now they have completed it. So I got to give credit where credit is due. I do want to complete the main story soon. I was hoping that the translations would be done on the wiki first, because I prefer to read the translations very quickly after I've completed the content, just so it's all fresh on my mind. However, that selector could change my tune depending on what unit I end up deciding to go for, because the ability to just insta-max a unit's gates, that is pretty nice, even if we are at the end of the road. Speaking of that, just one more thing before we move on to the banners, just for transparency's sake. It was revealed there's going to be maintenance for a very, very tiny version update. The only thing they listed were minor bug fixes. I just thought this was a curious detail, because if they were going to announce EOS, my earliest prediction, of course, was October 1st. I figured they'd just save the maintenance for then, rather than have it be this reset for the final week. So either A, there's some hope that they're not going to EOS the game right away, or if they are going to do that anyway, the fact that they're still devoted to fixing bugs like this for what's essentially a dead game, that's commendable. So with that out of the way, let's go ahead and take a look at the banners. And here we are at the banners. It's weird to think about, but this potentially could be the last banner overview I ever do for this game. Because if next week is just a nothing week insofar as, like, I don't know, something bad like voucher banners, or something good but there's not much to say about it, like the 55 5-star guaranteed, like, those are good, kind of a gem sink, but that's, what else do you have to say about that? If it's a week like that, and then after that comes EOS, then that means this week is the last one. So while the only things really worth pulling on, and honestly they're really the only options to begin with, as far as non-paid gems go, are pickup banners for units and mementos, something we've seen countless times before. My overall thoughts on them in general haven't changed. Units, good in incremental steps. They make good discount ticket burners. New sets of coins are always good because you can get more shards of characters, and if you're anything like me, there's always a list of characters you need shards of. However, there's some more context just given that the half anniversary, a thing that happened not that long ago, and with it, we got a lot of free stuff. We got a ton of things in terms of pure RNG, units, mementos, etc. And then we also got to choose a unit and memento. And not that much stuff has been released since then. And what has been released, Kamui and Amane Link, they're not going to be available on here anyway, so they're not going to have any effect on it. So it's these can be good to get caught up, but there's less to catch up, just as insofar as every time one of these banners has shown up, they've changed less and less as the game's progress has slowed down. That is definitely something to think about. However, the Memento banner in particular is in a fairly good spot if you have been waiting for Edgar, because, correct me if I'm wrong, but this should be the first time that Edgar is available on a banner like this. Otherwise, the only opportunity would be a rerun like when he reran with Kamui. And I think this is a better option, even if it's going to be more expensive in gems. With the normal Link unit banner, it's a 20-step pity, and generally speaking, TAGA pay will be in session, so you'd be spending, assuming that your luck is awful and you don't get any free pulls, you'd be spending 40k gems, and then you spend 40k gems and you get one copy of the memento and the unit. That's the worst case scenario for the actual units banner. The worst case scenario here, if you want to get Edgar, is basically exactly the same, except that you're spending 6,000 gems more. So that is a risk. That could happen. It probably won't, because getting 20 steps without any 5 stars, like, I've had some cursed pulls, but I've never had anything that cursed. I think I've been like about half that cursed, but never that much. And I don't know, but I've always had better luck with the 5%, just doubling the feature rate too. So keep in mind that could happen if you're incredibly risk averse, but in general, for most people, what that extra 6,000 gems that you're spending is going to get is going to be the other mementos that you put on the pickup banner. And that could help you out quite a bit depending on which ones you're missing. And I think that it's definitely can be worthwhile. And if your luck is really good, then very, very worthwhile. And even if you're not specifically chasing after Edgar, say maybe there's another memento on here that you want. Like the RNG rewards for the half anniversary just didn't give you the thing that you want. You had something higher priority. Like, there's a bunch of mementos for characters I already have raised / basically maxed out, but I didn't have their memento. But I had to use my selector on Logi, right? I didn't feel like I had a choice. I felt like he was a unit I needed to have. And something like, I don't know, Otama or Yaris, that was just too much of a luxury. But now we're in a position where there isn't something as high priority, and you want to try and grab that in 10 steps and then hopefully get a bunch of other stuff along the way. I don't have a shortage right now of mementos that I'd want to go for. So, like, for example, this front and center one with all of the dragon characters on it / secondary memento for Lil, I really, really want to have that. Nyx's second memento, he's one of the units I use the most. Getting that would be great. Otama, Yaris, etc. And then, of course, I'm going to do this banner. I actually have already done it. If you're the kind of person who's constantly paying attention to how many gems I have, then you can tell that I've already sank a decent amount into this. And then, of course, put Lisbeth and Edgar on there just in case. So that way, the worst case scenario is I paid a little bit too much for one memento, but the best case scenario is I get a bunch of mementos. And given that this could be the end of the road, that's a risk I'm willing to take that I might not have been willing to in a normal circumstance, but I definitely want to go out with a bang if this is the end. And if it's not the end, then I'll hopefully be better equipped for content to come. So yeah, that's all I've got to say about banners. So let's go ahead and move on to the summoning. Okay, so let's get the ball rolling. These are the mementos that I have chosen. I mentioned some of them in the banner overview. I got 2 discount tickets, so this is not going to be too bad gem expenditure wise. So as long as my luck is good, it'll be pretty easy expense to justify. And right off the bat, we have it downloading. So we're going to see this more than we usually would. And the reason for that is because when they had that issue with the login that ultimately required some emergency maintenance, before they released that message, I thought it was just on my end. So I re-downloaded the data. And so we're going to just see downloading screens more often than normal. But on the plus side, that's kind of nice because then we just, as long as there's no like fake out downloadings, which, I've had some rage-inducing fake outs, but in this case, not a fake out. Starting with Otima, I'm pretty glad about that. I got him as a unit for free one of the times they had one of those special one limited guaranteed from like X pool of units. I also got Nidhogg from that same pool, so that was definitely a good time. Yet I don't remember how long ago that was. I'm fairly certain that was in 2023 because Ancient Story wasn't finished yet, and I remember using him in the Smire Christmas event Hell level. That was like the first time I was really using him. So it's been a long time without his Memento, and to be honest, he's done pretty good without it, but it's always better with it, so definitely off to a good start. So the next Memento that I'm going to go for is going to be Soul's Mount Memento. I have the other ones for him. It's the only one that I'm missing. Is it the most pragmatic choice in terms of mementos that I lack as far as like advancement of the account? Maybe not. I think my soul's already a force of nature without this memento, but I want to get all his mementos if I can. He looks really cool when he rides the mount. I'll have to remember how to use him that way because it's been such a long time. Most of the time when I use soul nowadays, it's just single target nuking from far away or AoE nuking if there's more than one target. He was really fun in that one score challenge. So this is a really good start. Normally when I do discount ticket pulls, they are not this good. Normally it's like duds right off the gate when it's 500 gems. So luckily that has the discount ticket curse has been avoided. I will say like this is not going to be a perfect run. That's unlikely, but already so far it's been a pretty good spot to be in. However, because the nature of this banner, I can't just stop at 2. I don't want to be stuck with 200 coins that I can't really use for anything. Even if the rest of the luck was bad, there's one more memento on the table. But yeah, we got Yaris's. This one I am very interested in because I have found her underwhelming. Even, she's got a lot of things in her favor, like good units to buff her and stuff, but I'm hoping the memento makes a difference, which is a scummy thing, but if it helps her, and then I'll use her more. Okay, so we swapped out Yaris's memento for Zine Link's memento. If I was able to get his, then I'd be all, or no, there's still Kanon to think about, but I actually haven't finished raising Kanon because I haven't finished regular Kanon, so I would need to jump through all of those hoops, and then first dead step, by the way. I have to jump through all those hoops and then get Kanon Link max limit broken and then all set up, and I don't have her memento, and so I didn't prioritize putting hers on here just because one of her main things is she does a lot of shielding, but then a lot of really strong characters in a PvP sense can just either eat through the shield or just ignore it entirely, so we're not too worried about that at the moment. If the game lasts long enough somehow and I get to a point where there's nobody else to prioritize, then I'll definitely work on Kanon, but overall it's harder to justify in the present. Man, I really want more Sacred Stone characters. Like, I will be a little sad if the game ends and they never gave us Link versions of the rest of the captains. Catanova in particular, but definitely Kaya, Bashini, Kagura. There's a lot they could do with that, and it would be very fun. So while that did have 2 5-stars, it was not it. Okay, so no changes since the beginning of step 3, since we haven't gotten any featureds. Overall, this luck's been, it's kind of getting closer to the mean at this point. It started out with pretty good luck, and then it's starting to tank a little bit. Luckily, we won't be able to call it cursed because, you get even if it ended up averaging 1 featured per 5 steps, that's pretty decent, or at least really, really average. And lo and behold, we have another downloading. So we're just starting to come back up a little bit. We still haven't seen Tina, or not Tina, Lisbeth or Edgar. Either one of those would be like a very, very big extra prize, because since I'm only doing 10 steps, I won't be able to guarantee them. But if I can RNG them, then that's a really, really awesome thing to get on the side. We will have to see. I'm wondering if there'll be any tendencies towards a particular slot in the rotation. I don't think so. I think it's just pure RNG, like that, you know, basically just 1/6. That's at least what I hope it is. But we got Soul's second Memento. Glad about that. He's one of my more heavily invested characters, and so more options for him is always going to be good. So yeah, not too bad. So far we got 3 features total. So let's move on to the next step. Okay, so we swapped out the Soul Memento for Nimmel's Yukata Memento. I am trying to remember what that even does, and it has escaped my memory. But more power from Nimmel, always be good. Doesn't feel like he particularly needs it at the current state that he's in, but you know, more the merrier when it comes to stats. So unfortunately, that was another dud. I would expect, I don't know, if I want to call myself lucky, I would expect to see 1 more featured. If we can do that, then we'll elevate it up from good, or from decent to good. But this is definitely not it. So yeah, unfortunately 2 steps that were bad in a row. Okay, we are in the final stretch here. 2 more steps to go. Last few have been duds, so it's going to come down to 9 and 10 to really determine how good. Well, that's definitely not good. So where I'm at this far in the process, I'm just speaking in present tense, even though this is technically past tense. It's just easier. Is that I'm a little bit disappointed, but I'm glad that it hasn't been awful. You know, got a few units fairly set, kind of more or less completed some kits, so to speak. Ooh, now that's a big deal. That so far it's been like a 1-to-1 ratio for downloading, and then of course it's going to be red, right? So either A, it got like 4 at once, or it's less than 4 mementos, and one of them is going to be one of the link units, just because of how much extra packets it was downloading. So we got a little spoiled, but honestly, I think it feels a little bit nicer just knowing right off the bat that you got something good. Just because a 5-star doesn't mean that you got something good. And there we have it. We've got Lisbeth. I do have her secondary memento already. I don't have Lisbeth's job 3 done, but that's a problem for another day. So I'm guessing one of these is also going to be featured based on the downloading, and it is the Dragon's Memento. So that was one of the ones I really wanted. I like the extra effects it does for the dragon characters, and then of course, if I'm going to be using Lil, it's going to be nice to have. So overall, that is a pretty good haul, and then I still got 1 more memento to get. Most likely I'm going to use it on the Mira Nyx's second memento, but we'll see. It doesn't expire, so I'll hang on to it. So yeah, that is all this week. I wish you good luck, and I will see you all next time.